Mathias, thank you so much for joining us here today at FF News' coverage of the Paris Fintech Forum. How are you?
I'm brilliant, Douglas. Happy to be here.
It's so great to meet you in person finally.
Finally.
Literally as one of our regulars, but despite always, it's virtual. So, Mathias, with that in mind, could you please tell our viewers a bit more about Doconomy, please?
Doconomy is the global market leader in making every transaction count, enriching transaction data with impact data, transaction per transaction, primarily for retail clients. Basically what you get in your statement is the monetary effect in the local currency and the CO2 emissions value of that transaction, of the representation of your money spent in the merchant category.
Absolutely incredible. Now, with that in mind, one thing that we need to do here in Paris is define greenwashing. We need to understand it before we can tackle it. What is your definition of greenwashing?
Lying.
Yeah.
I think greenwashing at its simplest sense is lying. It's claiming to do something that you're not doing or that you do not have an intention to do.
Yeah.
Greenwashing, I think, can be disclosed in a very simple way. It's basically fundamental financial analysis. Follow the money. Don't go for the people that are doing the talk, but go for the people that are doing the walking. And if they talk and not follow up with actions, not direct substantial and sufficient funding or other resources, time can be one resource, then I think it's very close to being something similar to greenwashing. The other side of it, greenwashing, is potentially not better when they are organizations of today are too insecure in communicating around how they want to contribute to the net zero transition.
Yeah.
And that might be because they're not educated enough, they don't have the sufficient resources, experience. And for those players, there needs to be a handrail for change over time for the coming 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, we shouldn't be shaming people who want to get on that journey, but maybe still haven't. So what are the challenges involved with defeating greenwashing, getting on to reducing your carbon, and how can Doconomy play a part in that?
Measure, but also engage and activate. So data is critical, of course. Data is critical, and tech distributing, providing data is instrumental. But all the data and the tech in the world is not going to save us unless there is leadership and there is language. And the language in the sense that we need to be credible in how we communicate, how we engage, how we describe what we aim to do, avoiding pitfalls that could be considered greenwashing because we're defining things differently. There need to be a substantial idea around comparability, both in language and in data, and then I think we're going to be in a good place.
That's why I asked you to define greenwashing in the first place, so we can get a baseline to which we can then apply how we can fight it. So that's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
So could you tell our viewers a bit more about how you work with Greenwashing and Enriching to really work on enabling companies to reduce their carbon?
Absolutely. They are one of the most prominent players, I would say, in trying to drive change, looking at from their angle how to address this, starting with the cards and the materials, but also moving forward. And I think we've had a really good exchange on thought leadership with them, trying to bring this message to the market that there is opportunity, there is potentials to change, and there is partners that can help you with this transition. Remembering talking about the handrail. I think they're doing a brilliant job in their part of the ecosystem, and we're trying to complement their offer with our part in the ecosystem.
I love the idea of partnerships coming together to work together to ultimately reducing carbon footprint. It shows that the industry is actually talking about it and maybe reducing greenwashing. But what's also fascinating is Greenwashing and Enriching is such an old organization. It's a large organization, and it's still trying its best and working towards that goal. Now, speaking of goals, we are here today in Paris. We've got the Paris Agreement coming up. What can institutions, large and small, in finance do to really meet that agreement?
I think it comes down to redirecting the efficiencies that they have built to achieve wealth, to shape fortunes, to create security in transactions or in management of assets. Redirecting those capabilities and those skill sets, which are second to none in the world. The financial services industry's efficiencies are instrumental for success.
Yeah.
If they can utilize those efficiencies to educate the many, to position the Paris Agreement as a framework of change that everyone would need to know about and also to adhere to, I think they will have contributed in a very good way. I think the MasterCard relationship that we have, driving change through every transaction, through existing rails in a trusted network on global level, is just one example of doing that.
That's absolutely brilliant. And if you were to, as you mentioned, define the Paris Agreement as change, and if we exemplify that here at the Paris Fintech Forum, this event doesn't stop. It's completely changed. How have you found it this year?
So the fundamental pillars, I would say, is track, measure, and reduce in the Paris Agreement. And working with BNP Paribas in the US a while ago, we actually invited clients in the retail bank to sign their own Paris Agreement. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to what we do as citizens, right? And we are part of larger constructs. We're part of organizations, of parties, governments, of football teams, or as parents. But we can step up to this opportunity, as I choose to regard it. We believe that responsibilities can be converted into opportunities in many different ways. But track, measure, reduce, obviously being the core pillars.
Amazing. And how have you found this year's Paris Fintech Forum?
Brilliant. It's first time in person, and I think I'm knocked out by the quality of the panelists and the speakers, and listening in to people I've only read about, and it's amazing the transparency and the sharing. And there's a fair amount of investor side representation as well, and it's interesting to tap into those dialogues just to better understand, where are we directing money now? Are we directing funds into solving one of the greatest problems, or are we only surfing the last hype in regard of buzzwords, going from big data, going to AI via crypto? Who knows? I'd like to see sustainable change.
I think we're certainly going to see it with you behind the wheel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas.
Cheers,
Pleasure.